Today we'll be taking our first look at the Tier 7 Kirisame, which I think it's safe to say may very well be the rarest of all ships in this game. It debuted in this Holiday 2023 update, and unfortunately, the only way to acquire it is to buy a lot of crates, a lot of premium crates. And the chances to get this particular ship out of one of those premium crates is astronomically low. So it's very unlikely that even if you do buy the crates, you're going to get this ship. And that's too bad, because this particular Tier 7 IJN destroyer is fascinating. We've had collaborations in the past with the Transformers IP. And all those collaborations have resulted in ships with, quote, Transformers skins, although those skins merely change the aesthetics of the ship and make them aesthetically look like something that could be related to the Transformers universe. The Kirisame, however, is an actual Transformer. There are 3 different configurations you can take this ship out in. And I'm using the stock configuration, where the Kirisame gets 3 127mm guns and 8 torpedoes that have a 10-kilometer range, 62 knot speed, and I think they hit for somewhere around 16,000 damage. The other options are contained in the 5th module slot, which allows you to switch out the Kirisame's 2 other hulls. The first hull is called the artillery hull, and paradoxically, it gives you perhaps some of the best torpedoes this ship has to offer. They are 16.5 kilometer deep water torpedoes with over 20,000 maximum damage, but it also has 6 Akizuki guns, the 100mm guns, and they reload fairly quickly. These guns, by the way, on the stock hull, the 3 of them, you might look at them on paper and think, oh, they're not all that impressive. But they do have like an 1800 maximum HE shell damage, and I think 8 or 9% fire chance. I might be mistaken on the specifics of these numbers, but they're actually quite good because you can get the reload down to 1.8 seconds, which is one of the faster destroyer reloads in the game. And even though there's only 3 of them, they reload so quickly that they can do a fair amount of damage and light a fair amount of fires. Anyway, though, there is a third option for the Kirisame, and unlike the, quote, torpedo hull with its 16.5 kilometer deep water torpedoes and its Akizuki guns, the torpedo hull has something sort of like Hayate guns, which are still very effective main battery guns, and paradoxically, its torpedoes have like the lowest maximum damage out of all 3 hull choices. So this destroyer, basically, very, very bizarre. I really don't know what to make of it, and if you get it out of one of the crates, then you essentially have 3 different ships at your disposal. This is like 3 different destroyers, and each one of them is fairly effective. You can see the torpedoes on this stock hull. They don't hit for too terribly much. We got 3 torpedo hits there and not a lot to show for it. It also doesn't seem like they start floods that often. But the guns, of course, they can start fires. And we're trying to play this alpha cap because we spawned here, but things are already going poorly for our team in this game. The other destroyer that spawned with us entered the Charlie cap on the other side of the map. He was trying to take the cap, but the cap was being entered by both an enemy battleship and an enemy cruiser, and the friendly destroyer was hiding behind an island near them. He decided to sail out in front of them, perhaps to torp them, but ultimately to sink and go back to port. That leaves me as the last destroyer left alive on this team. The enemy has flipped all 3 of the caps, and obviously it's not really going to be possible for me to take this alpha cap anytime in the near future, not with the Bismarck over there and one of the enemy destroyers already inside the cap. That enemy destroyer is going to spot me, shoot at me, and also allow the Bismarck and potentially even the Tirpitz to also shoot at me, so we can't allow that. We're trying to get vision on him. It's the Benson we were shooting at earlier. Going to open up again with these 3 127mm guns and give you an idea of how effective they can be if we can actually get them to hit. See if we can dial in our aim here. Not doing particularly well, but you can see the damage on these guns is pretty good, and it comes very quickly. So this Benson, if we can continue to land these shells even while he's smoked up, is not going to be long for this world. Of course, we can't land the shells. He does get spotted again. So we're going to open fire, try to take him out. That's sort of our only hope of opening up this game to our team. We need this Benson to go down so we can actually take this Alpha Cap. Guns, well, we don't actually end up getting the killing blow on the Benson. That honor goes to one of our teammates, but we did do a fair amount of damage to him. And as we approach the Alpha Cap again, we're going to lay down some fire on this Bismarck. We've got a battleship inside that Alpha Cap flipping it. And I don't actually think that any of the enemy ships can reset him from his position, so maybe we're content to sail more toward Bravo, where the other enemy destroyer was last spotted. And I think that is, in fact, what we're going to do. The situation is pretty dire. The enemy team has nearly 700 points right now. They have 2 of the capture circles. Hopefully my teammate is going to flip Alpha, but somebody has to get in Bravo to put a stop to this quick accrual of points for the Reds. Otherwise, they're going to overwhelm us before we have too much time left to go. My teammates do flip Alpha, so my decision to go to Bravo seems like the right one. We'll hopefully run into the enemy destroyer and maybe be able to take care of him. I have no idea what it is, but I should say that the Kirisame, you know, it's a weird ship, and I did hesitate to feature it in a video because, again, the only way to obtain it is by buying a bunch of crates, and the likelihood that you'll actually pull the Kirisame itself out of one of the crates is exceedingly low. So I don't want to over-incentivize people to buy these crates. I want to make it clear that I don't think you should buy these crates if your goal is to get the Kirisame, because you're probably going to get maybe a premium or two that you don't already have, but it's almost certainly not going to be this one. So hopefully this ship will come back to the game in some way later on. It really is unique, especially in terms of IJN destroyers. There's nothing like it. And speaking of unique destroyers, there's the Lo Yang. One thing to be said about the artillery hull on this ship is the deep water torpedoes can't hit other destroyers, but, well, the Lo Yang make short work of him. Our teammates were close enough to help us out, and that's both of the destroyers eliminated, so we might be okay now. Gonna lay down some fire on this Richelieu as we reverse toward this Bravo Cap. We really do need to get into the Bravo Cap. I think maybe now in retrospect, looking at this game, we should have sailed into that cap with a little bit more urgency, but then again, our teammates continue to sink all around us. There's only 3 of them left besides myself, and the enemy team is approaching 800 points. Richelieu, though, very low on health. Maybe if we can light another fire, we might be able to take him down. We did get 1 fire on him, and he uses damage control, so fortunately, he goes behind the island, but the Bismarck B out there is also on low health, so perhaps we can turn around, enter the Bravo Cap, and finish off the Bismarck B. Maybe these torpedoes that we're launching through the gap will even be able to tag the Richelieu. But we do have a problem approaching in the form of the Mines CE. German cruiser with rapid-firing guns, and, of course, German sonar. Huge danger to us. We can't really push into him. One thing I neglected to mention is that the HP on the Kirisame, at least for the stock hull, but actually for all of the hulls, really, is kind of low by destroyer standards. So you really can't afford, if you want to play it as more of a gun-focused platform, you really can't afford to take too much fire in return, because you simply don't have the HP to absorb the damage. But when the situation's like this, with 5 minutes left to go in the game, mines broadside in front of you, you sorta gotta take your chances, and you can see that the AP from these 3 guns is effective enough to whittle the mines down to basically nothing and allow one of our teammates to finish him off. So the biggest threat in that Bravo Cap has been eliminated. There are only 4 enemy ships left alive now versus 3 of us, but I suspect my battleship teammates are on fairly low health, and they may not be able to stand up to the focus fire of 3 enemy battleships and 1 enemy cruiser, especially since they're both sort of pushing into that Bravo cap in a single file line, one after another. The enemy appears to be crossing their T in that old naval tradition, that old naval tactic, and apparently it's working out well for them because they're just focusing down that battleship of mine, taking some pot shots at me as I got spotted. I'm desperately trying to light fires on the hood, put some torpedoes in, hoping that the enemy ships will turn in toward the Bravo cap, but why should they? They don't actually need to push into our battleships. They are winning. All they need to do is stay alive for the next 4 minutes and safely take out some of my teammates, and that'll be that. Mogami out here is going to put the nail in our coffin if he either sinks me or gets into the alpha cap, so I really have no choice but to fire at him with my guns and hope my teammates might follow suit. After all, they are battleships, so they probably are the best equipped to take out the Mogami, which is now giving me broadside. So we're switching to the AP to see if we can get any kind of effective shots on him at this kind of distance. Really, at this point, with this amount of time left in the game, our only hope is to sink ships, and so that's what we're going to try to do while dodging the Mogami's incoming return fire. His shells hurt a lot, but they don't fire all that often, so we might be well equipped. We had to disengage, of course, lose sight of the Mogami. At least we've prevented him from getting into the Alpha Cap right away, so that's bought us some time. But our 2 remaining battleships have basically no HP left. They might be trying to abuse each other's will to rebuild skill. I don't know, but I see some red torpedoes from the Scharnhorst going toward 1. I guess GG, that battleship dodged, so he's going to stay alive for a little while longer, but if you haven't been able to guess already, ladies and gentlemen, this game is going to end in a tragic defeat. Not a whole lot we could really do near the end. Perhaps we could have done some things differently, but I do think this one boils down to a little bit of what I was talking about yesterday, which is destroyers sinking pretty quickly in the beginning of the game. Our other friendly destroyer who went to the Charlie Cap sunk very quickly indeed and got pretty much no gain out of it, and as soon as he went down, my teammates on that side lost their eyes and ears, and the rest of things just sort of fell into place. The enemy is now at 940 points, and there's really no way we can stop them from hitting 1,000 unless our friendly battleship takes down that last enemy battleship, but he appears to be beached on an island, broadside in front of that ship, and he's got no health left, so things are not looking promising. I'm trying to find the Mogami again to maybe be able to take him out, and actually, crazily enough, the key takes down the Scharnhorst, so we may, in fact, be able to wrap up this game. All we have to do is sink the Mogami. We just have less than 2 minutes to do it, and the enemy team may very well actually hit 1,000 points before those 2 minutes have elapsed, but unfortunately, it's decided for us. The Mogami comes out 4 kilometers in front of us. We try to get some citadels and succeed at it, and our preemptive torps were pretty close, but not close enough. The Mogami is not taken out. The torpedoes miss. We actually get taken out by the Mogami, and I think because the Scharnhorst has no HP left, the Mogami is not going to have a hard time sinking him and winning the game for his team. Or else they're just going to hit 1,000 points before that happens. Either way, GG to the Reds. And I hope you enjoyed this first look at the Kirisame. Very unusual IJN destroyers. If you want to see the other hull options in action, let me know in the comments, and I'll take those other options out to record some more footage later today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.